Hello, welcome to the Simpsons Index, and after you're done listening to this podcast, check out our other podcast. It's called Starring Springfield, and we're reviewing the movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. Like this week, we're going to be reviewing The Fisher King, and it's a very, very good movie, and it stars Harry Shearer. Check that out after this podcast, or before this podcast, whatever. Just listen to our podcast. Okay, let's listen to the Simpsons Index now. The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is The Simpsons Index, episode 302. Hello out there, I'm your host Elliot Jay O'Neill, joined here as always, except when he's not, by BT Calloway.
Ahoy hoy.
And returning champion, Philip Wolf.
I've already had 3 coffees.
And another returning champion, Jimmy Mack.
Hi, everyone.
How many coffees have you had?
Just one.
Oh, yeah.
What a sensible amount.
Coffee update. Yeah, I started the morning with a Suntory double espresso and then, had another coffee with these guys. How about you, Beach?
I'm on 2. So that's
You're
nice.
on 2? Yeah. All right.
I'm enjoying a nice Suntory 196. Look, we've tried goading Pepsi Max into sponsoring us. If not, Suntory.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was an accidental double plug because, I started out with the Suntory canned coffee.
Yep.
And now, because it's midday enough, moving on to...
It's Sunday. What is time? It's an illusion.
The delicious minus 196 double lemon drink.
We just have to start the beverage index.
Actually, you probably get a lot more sponsorship for the beverage index.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
We're corruptible.
Yeah, I mean, we've asked everybody about their sandwiches.
Yeah, it's time to put some beverages with those sandwiches. Fuck
Sandwiches?
yes. All right. New point.
I missed that episode.
Surely you're on the sandwich
You've got to
index.
be on the sandwich
I know you
index.
are. You had like a...
I know you have because I
yours-
know you had the right answer.
It was like,
Oh.
wasn't yours like baked beans with like chips?
That's right.
Let me find the fucking thing.
You don't even remember your horrible, horrible sandwich.
I thought he was also a Reuben man.
I feel like I would have chosen a Reuben.
Yeah, I don't.
To be
but
fair,
baked beans is a thing I do like. So
on a sandwich.
I
Though.
may have
That's
exposed
bad.
myself.
was it baked beans on a Reuben, maybe? That's a...
Oh.
I still hate that the Simpsons Index is also a science thing. It makes it so much harder to find us.
Yep.
Don't you just know what the web page is?
No.
TheSimpsonsIndex.com.
Who searches the entire website name? You just,
Well,
that's
that is
normal.
a very direct route. How do you get to
You
your
just
home?
type in the website.
I like to think we've overcome science at this point.
When you drive
Nope.
home, do you just drive to a number of the house that you are, and regardless of the street? You just go to like
Yeah.
93 a street in your suburb?
How else do you get home?
Way to dox him. Now everybody knows he lives at 93 A Street.
Let's not uncover my sandwich shame. Let's not do
I
that.
just want to prove that I'm not already, a third of a can through 196 deep and losing my mind.
Well, just so if anyone doesn't know the premise out there after 302 episodes, we review Simpsons and sometimes talk about sandwiches and the beverages of the Suntory Corporation, apparently.
I enjoy the part of this podcast where you'll cut most of this intro.
And relegate it to the bonus scenes. But
Bonus scenes.
have you not found it yet?
I keep forgetting which thing on the webpage it's on.
It's hidden
Surely,
I know. That's why.
surely
in the About
it's
section.
surely it's
Ah, it's on
sandwiched
About.
between the content and the contact.
Look, we have a lot of different pages on this website, and I forget which one it's on. Okay, where's the Jimmy
Maybe I
Mac?
should just put the sandwich index as its own page.
We should stop, fucking around.
Just stop hiding it. Hiding our
let's see.
shame. Our sandwich shame.
The Jimmy Mac was peanut butter, cheese, baked beans, and potato crisps on a jaffle.
How did that ever come into existence?
Your first time you did a podcast with us, we would have asked you, what's your favorite sandwich, or what sandwich would you have named after you?
I remember at
were
the
you just
time you're
very
saying it's
nervous?
like a comfort food, but you might have been trolling us.
I mean, I was trolling myself.
Look,
That is an
we all
outrageous-
change. That's the thing.
Yeah, J Mac from 8 years ago might have loved Jaffle.
I'm going to make one tonight and
See how that shapes up.
see if I still like it.
You
Well,
both
it's
to go buy
funny,
a Jaffle
we
maker.
had Maddie on the podcast the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, I'd never order that."
Yeah,
Her
exactly.
sandwich, and it is funny, that the Simpsons Index has accidentally been an exploration in the nature of memory.
Yeah.
And as such is the case with the topic of every episode of the Simpsons Index, which is The Simpsons. And today we are reviewing a couple of episodes, but first of all, we are doing Season 32, Episode 2, Bart's in Jail! Exclamation point. First released in October of 2021, it was directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Nick Dahan, In this episode, Grandpa gets scammed into thinking that Bart's in jail, but he is not. And Homer starts berating him, thinking, oh, I'd never get scammed. And then he gets scammed.
Yes.
And then they uncover Springfield's old scamming enterprise. And nothing much changes as a result of it. Hey, guys, what do we think?
I had a pretty good time. They were not sure how to end this one.
No, you were not.
Yeah, I actually thought it was probably one of the better new ones I've seen for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of good laughs, reasonably interesting story. I like that they buried the lead about the whole story in the title. Like, it wasn't about Bart being in jail at all.
Yeah, we got scammed.
Sons of bitches.
Meta scam.
I thought the weird little Loki bit
Look,
just
yeah.
really threw me
Oh, yeah.
quite a distance.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
I did think that was a hallucination from eating deep fried beaks. I thought that's what that was going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I was doing the pre-research for this, I saw one of the guest stars for this episode, Alan Cumming, playing Loki, and I'm like, why didn't they get Benedict Cumberbatch? That's weird. And then I realized I didn't watch that show about that book by Terry Pratchett and nobody.
You
Bad
mean-
Omens, Good Omens.
Bad Omen, Good
No,
Omens.
no,
Omens.
Good
Good
Omens.
Omens.
Good Omens is the one they did together, but you're thinking of American Gods.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
no one watched American God. Well, I watched an episode and was bored to death.
right.
Look, I did, and it was okay, but they did the good idea of extending character stories of like B and C characters with the bad idea of having those character stories go nowhere.
So
Right.
not extending.
So is
Yeah.
this where this Loki character is from?
I don't remember. They don't really. Do they even have Loki in that one? He's there, but I don't think we didn't get to the part in the book where he actually becomes relevant.
Right.
So no.
I thought because it was like Michael Sheen, and I was like, oh, it's probably that one.
Nah. Michael Sheen's in the Good Omens one,
Right.
but he's not.
So I'm still not thinking of the right thing.
Yeah, he's
Also not Loki.
Asrael there. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, I guess I don't know much, except Simpsons.
that's fine. Look, the good thing about people getting cancelled is you no longer have to know about their stuff.
Yay, now I don't need to read so many books.
It's the plan to remove all books.
It's a shame, though, because, yeah, we did really like that season 20s-ish episode that he
The
was
book
in.
job.
Yeah.
Look, there's always the question of art versus artist and stuff like that, and certain things will be tainted, but there are other things you can still enjoy to some degree.
That's it. But speaking of enjoying to a certain degree, yeah, that's where the episode just kind of
Yeah.
just drove directly off the fantasy cliff for me, and like,
Yeah,
to
like-
your point, didn't know how to end it.
I know. I mean, I was going to leave that for what stood out for me for better or worse, but I
What
feel
stood out to you for better or worse?
Well, let's just tear this Band-Aid off. All right, so the Simpsons have gone through this whole thing of talking about scams and, going through the various, and they kind of track down the person who scammed Grandpa, only to find out it's not a person, it's basically an organization, and then you can't really do anything about that, so they just go have this big meal with all these scam cards they found, and after eating a big meal, Marge eats, a bit of fried food from the ill-gotten coupon cards, and that makes Loki appear and explain that, oh, I'm the trickster god known by many names. Here are some visual references to Anansi the Spider God and Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. And
Other guest star of this episode, Alex Hirsch playing Bill Cipher.
Yeah.
Alex Hirsch is the creator of Gravity Falls.
yeah, and it's just a collective hallucination. And what was weird and kind of annoying is before this, I was fine with where it was going to end on a very non-heart, basically, but what are you going to do kind of thing, which I thought was actually pretty good. A very kind of anticlimactic ending for The Simpsons, which they do sometimes, and a lot of times get it wrong. But this time I thought it was actually working out. And then they just kind of keep going for a little bit, and they do kind of turn it around at the very end with kind of a heart moment, but it's... That whole Loki sequence, I think, threw everyone off completely.
Yep.
Do you think that the episode was finished and then they somehow
Pretty
got
much.
Bill Cummings to come in and they're like, oh, we need you to have a scene.
I don't-
Where can we squeeze you into this
It
episode?
feels almost like they're like, hey guys, we don't know how to end this. We want all four of you to write an ending. Oh, look, now I can't pick. Let's use all of them.
It wasn't even that. It was just that you could lose the Loki bit
Entirely.
entirely and it wouldn't make any difference to anything.
Yeah.
Apart from nobody would be
Yeah,
confused.
because the moral of it is Marge has that moment of, okay, fine, if everyone's scamming everyone, I'll enjoy some scammed food then.
Yeah.
And then that works fine with her later on. There's a woman begging for $20 for petrol, and she gives it to her out of, no, I won't be that person who doesn't believe there's, there's honesty out there. You don't need it at all. For something to be cut wholesale and not make a difference.
Well, apparently the ending was pretty well altered in that, it was ultimately Matt Selman's call to for the ending of this episode to not give it a necessarily happy ending, and the original ending, which I think is a bit more interesting. It was revealed that Grandpa had been cheating at cribbage for years to get that money.
I did suspect that, because he's like, haha, another cribbage win. I'm like, I wonder if he's meant to be, and then it didn't come up as a thing. So I was like, all right.
Yeah. No, it would have made
that would have been a better ending.
Yeah, it would have felt so much more full circle.
Yeah.
But just quickly on Alex Hirsch, he was really stoked to be involved with this, as like anyone is. Like even The Simpsons is what it is these days, but it still must be a childhood dream, as he wrote. From age 18, I didn't miss a single Simpsons premiere. I read the guide until the pages fell out, memorized every line, knew the writer of every ep, and could tell you the season by the size of the characters' pupils. I'm in total disbelief tonight I did just a cameo on the show. But, and he also said, if for tonight I get hit by 3 buses, then lightning, and then fall out of a window into a truckload of mousetraps, then I'll die happy. Thank you, The Simpsons.
Nice.
And just to clarify, who's Alex Hirsch?
Who's that?
He's the creator of a cartoon called Gravity Falls.
Right.
Don't know if you guys have seen that.
No,
You are adults.
Who was he in the episode?
He was
Bill
built, the triangle guy, when Loki was like, hey, I'm known by many names.
So he's happy to die in that horrific mousetrap variation of death because he got to say, blame the NCAA or whatever he said.
Cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency, that's right.
Also, was Jesus sitting there at the table?
I don't know, it went by so fast I couldn't really catch everybody.
I think one of his guises was Jesus.
All right.
Ooh, a bit of commentary there.
Controversial.
Might have just been a bearded guy in robes.
Could be.
Yeah.
He was very white for Jesus.
Well, also controversial.
What stands out to you, Jimmy, for better or worse?
The Loki thing was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That's going to be the thing that sticks in my brain for the longest.
Yeah, I'll remember that for a long time. What stuck out? Probably the opening of the episode where we see young Abe.
Oh, yeah.
Deciding that he's not going to participate in Social Security and that he's going to go on it on his own by earning his money through gambling on animals.
Yep.
And then immediately smash cut to him racing for his Social Security check. I think there's a little jab at sort of quote-unquote boomer attitudes towards Social Security in America now. So, that was interesting.
Yeah, and an interesting little bit of backstory that Grandpa worked in a meatball mine or something.
Meatball factory.
Yeah.
He was a meatball man.
All the crumbs he could scoop.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that part of the story also got me on the right foot with this one where, my bigger problems are, story pacing in this one, but, jokes throughout, kind of solid.
Yeah, it needs, another go-through to kind of trim out some of the extra fat, because this is one where, we don't have a couch gag, we don't have an intro, we're straight in, and it is a little bit flabby for that, because they clearly didn't cut anything.
No, and a bit exposition-y with stories, but the gags are going to be the one that's going to buoy this one for me.
Yeah, I was going to say the best thing for me was that is the most I've laughed in a new Simpsons episode for a long time. There were a lot of good one-liners, a lot of good sight gags. Nothing was belabored. You didn't get 3 stabs at the same joke, which we normally do get. They did the signage gags for when all the retirees got their pension. Social Security money, and then they went out on the spending spree. And I couldn't, I was reading them, and then only wrote down one because they were so fast and quick pace, and they didn't, go, it's the meatball shop. That's the best place for meatballs, the meatball shop. And
you got to get your premium meatballs there.
Yeah, it was just the best one I saw was the large format library.
I quite like Jasper getting new tennis balls for his walker.
At the sports store, yeah.
There's just a lot of good, funny gags that just were very quick and gives you value to watch it again because you can actually pay attention to some of them.
But there weren't any of these extended extra beat jokes where the point of it is how long it's going on. In terms of there wasn't a lot of wasted time in this.
Yeah.
But the thing that stood out to me from that montage, and I kind of missed a few jokes because of it, because I had to Shazam, was they played the song Here Comes the Money, which I was like, this isn't a real song. This is just a wrestling theme, right? This is a purpose wrestling theme intro. And it is.
Is it?
Yeah, it's for fucking Shane McMahon. It's his entrance music. And the son of Vince McMahon.
Oh, and his entrance music is Here Comes the Money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that was the whole character.
Leaning into that.
Yeah.
All about
the character. Was it actually his son?
Yeah.
Was his wrestling name Nepotism or Nepo Baby?
that was the implication.
And he was a good wrestler. Shane McMahon was a great wrestler.
Well, great wrestler, questionable, but he would go for it. He did some fucking ridiculous stunts in his times. He jumped off cages and like scaffolding and really put his body on the line for it. But if you want the funniest bit of Shane McMahon wrestling is a couple of years ago at a WrestleMania, he came out from a long absence, and this is around when Vince is getting ousted from the company. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, he's back. I thought he would have not surfaced. Okay. But anyway, he comes back. He's just meant to have like a quick tussle with a wrestler, but on like one of the most basic moves, they call it the international, where it basically like you leapfrog over your opponent who's running between the ropes. It's like one of the things that they cover in early wrestling training. Anyway, so during that move, he jumps over the opponent running the ropes. When he lands, he blows out both of his quads.
Quads?
Yeah. Oh. Like, again, he's in his 50s or maybe late 40s at this stage. And he's like not a competitive wrestler. Like, he does wrestling matches, but, you know. Anyway, blows out both of his quads, and to scramble, one of the refs, because Snoop Dogg just happened to be nearby, one of the refs goes to Snoop Dogg, get in there, do something, save this segment. And so, yeah, Snoop Dogg throws a fake punch to the opponent, The Miz, and then just does an elbow drop on him, pins him. It's not a real match. Like, it was just meant to be a tussle.
I mean, that's great. Pick up and run with it from Snoop Dogg. Yeah. If they did that to me, like, Phil, do something, I would have just like maybe danced on the spot.
Yeah, done the Charleston for a little bit.
I also thought you said Snoop Doc, like he was going to become Dr. Snoop and go into the ring and fix the legs.
Yeah.
That's the amalgamation of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Together at last.
When they Voltron together.
Yeah.
God, I love that Snoop Dogg is like the most versatile celebrity in the world.
Oh, yeah.
From the American nightmare of gangster rap to just, if you need a celebrity, Snoop Dogg.
No, he is in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. Like,
he's also in posters at service stations next to Martha Stewart selling big lighters.
Yeah, God, it's so weird. I love that. And I also...
And did somebody say menu log?
Yeah. And
yeah.
And I also love the wrestler Nepo Baby, who's like...
Wah, I get all the money. He comes out, he's like in a golden nappy or a diaper for international people.
Anyway, that was a huge diversion.
It was fun, and we all learned a little something.
Yeah. I have been, like, toying with the idea of doing wrestling stories for non-wrestling fans, because there's a lot of them that I think do...
As usually the target of these stories, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Because, there's ones like that where I don't think you need to know the ins and outs of wrestlings to enjoy the idea.
Quite frankly, not knowing is far more fun.
Anyway, was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I did not write down any whack.
Well, I mean, besides the Loki sequence, but...
there was a little bit with the knife gags, like there was a few knives in the ceiling, burning them type of thing, but it wasn't super wacky. It was no Three Stooges.
No, but speaking of knives, and there was a fantasy sequence that I think was referencing Knives Out.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, the will reading scene, which isn't like, there's nothing distinct enough in there for me to be certain, but it feels like it's definitely a Knives Out.
Yeah, I think it was just more off the time sort of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, not too much on wackiness. I will say I do quite like the plot beat of, when Homer's going through his all jerk ass of, I would never get scammed. How could you be so stupid? You're like, okay, so the rest of the episode's going to be like Bart and Lisa tricking him to be like, oh, everyone can be scammed.
That's what I thought.
To take the hard right and be like, find out he's been part of a multi-level marketing campaign. First of all, really appreciate the misdirect, and second of all, they got some really good jokes out of it.
Yeah, I that's one where I question the pacing. I'm like, well, that was so quick, but
it was. But I like that we went somewhere I wasn't expecting, and in a good way, not in a what the fuck are you doing kind of way,
which was coming up later.
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, the things that the kids said they were scammed. That was pretty solid jokes of Bart like buying wedgie insurance, then he got a wedgie, and then his deductible went up.
Yep, and it led to the great bit with Homer distracting the security guard by him being like, I'll buy the whole set. Oh no, you're not going to buy the set. You buy the opportunity to sell to people who will sell the set. And the line of, these knives selling themselves.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
It's a fucking excellent wordplay there.
That was definitely a 3D triangle scheme.
Yeah. Yeah, as if like, I didn't think they could improve on their joke about, from the classic eras, our model is the trapezoid. Yeah. But they found a way, and usually they don't. It's kind of impressive. Actually, yeah, in terms of animation as well, I like that. I think we've even seen it before. Grandpa's got like a rotary cell phone.
Yeah. Look, it's a good bit, and I do kind of, not a rotary cell phone, but we have an aging population who really do not understand smartphones, and I'm always surprised there's not like a simplified version.
Oh, there is.
them.
I think all
there
them
is.
dumb phones.
I think
Well, that probably doesn't help the situation.
I think you just don't know that they exist because
That's
you're
also-
not one of the old people.
Well, thank God for that.
Yet.
Yeah.
It's coming for you and you and you.
No, like, because they do still have, like, numeric keypad phones that, like, work with the current level of technology and, like, just have really trimmed down and very
good.
easily spelled out features. And, yeah, those sort of phones are really popular amongst the elderly and those that need burner phones for whatever reason.
Do they also make, like, a TV remote with only, like, 4 buttons? Because I'm very tired of explaining TV remotes to my mum.
Yeah.
I think the ones where you can push and say what you want would simplify things, but it just makes it much, much worse.
And because like my Samsung TV, that's got a simplified remote, but it's still got 3 buttons for like Netflix, Prime Video, and fucking it's probably Hulu or something that I can't even use. Like, it's so annoying, and they're always the buttons I'm hitting the most, and it's annoying. And you can't assign them anyway. Whatever. Any other notes of wackiness?
Look, it's a line, so I'm not going to count it as wackiness, but I wanted to mention of... was it Lou the Cop goes, yeah, scam calls and pet Halloween costumes are America's only growth industries.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good comedy one-liners in this.
Yeah.
A lot of good general comedy. Like nothing trying too hard. There was no mugging to the camera. There was no like, isn't this funny because we're referencing a thing that's happening now? It was all just here it is, and then as you say, I think there was maybe too much.
You know, that's something I hadn't thought about, but a lot of the new episodes, for me, struggle for constantly referencing other pop cultural moments.
Absolutely.
And since I'm not particularly au fait with them, I lose a lot of that. This episode had almost none.
Yeah.
It really had very few.
Yeah, the ones it did have, I think, were if you don't get it, it's already over and we're moving on.
Yeah, and there was no celebrity stuff. There wasn't. I don't think there was a mention of a celebrity in the episode that I can think of.
Not really. Like, because I mean, they had a couple of guest stars, like the ones we already mentioned, and also, Simpsons writer Joel H. Cohen starred as Old Joel. I'm not sure who that was. Maybe it was someone in amongst the senior citizens.
I'm lost.
His line must be like, "Hey,
I'm old.
I'm old over here.
I did write down a line I enjoyed when Abe is asked for his details, and his answer to the question, first pet's name is Homer.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's a very funny detail. But the other celebrity voice is not someone I'm assuming Beej and I have a know-it-all, but maybe you guys, and this bit definitely landed with you two a lot more than me and Beej. Scott Hansen was playing himself or the Punt Zone announcer.
He's the host of a show called Red Zone that the NFL produces, which only shows scoring plays. So literally a play on which a team is likely to score, or they're in the red zone of the opponent, which is 20 yards from their end zone.
Oh, okay.
This was punt zone.
So that's like the opening kick, which like starts a play, right?
No, it's actually even less interesting than that. It's the kick that you do and you've run out of chances to move the ball, so you're just giving the ball away.
Oh, right. It's like what you do at the 6th tackle in NRL.
Spot on. Yeah. And
I did a season and a half of rugby league in my teenage years.
Did you? Yeah.
I know some
Who'd you
things.
follow?
I've been a lifelong Canberra Raiders supporter because, like, I've always loved the colour green, and they were the only team that had green in them.
Yes, at the stadium, like green.
The reason that
Not
no
the
one-
answer I expected, but it was a fine answer.
Well, to even add to the weirdness,
I like
for the
cartoon
longest
Vikings,
for the longest time, I didn't think they were called the Raiders. Like, because as a kid, because I liked this team, I was given a toy of like a soft toy of a figure in a Canberra Raiders jersey, but it had an apple for a head. I don't know what the connection was, but I just thought they were called the Canberra Appleheads. And so, like, anytime it's brought up,
Canberra,
my dad loves bringing it up. Like, if Canberra's in a game, it's the Bulldogs versus the Appleheads. And I'm like, Dad.
I can see, like, that's decades worth of dad jokes there.
Oh,
Sure, I would be on that.
Yeah,
like
your
a
dad was
white
like,
on rice.
"Oh, we are set for life."
Buy the boat. We've got this forever.
The punt zone, like, there just seem to be a lot of lines clicking with you guys here over this one.
The real joke in that bit, apart from its very existence, which would be objectively funny, was the voiceover saying, fake punt, cut away, because a fake punt would be an interesting play to watch. That's
but no, they only show punts.
That's right, only punts.
Right.
I did like that one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the emotions, the bumps?
Look, there's some kind of anti-heart where Marge is, Lisa turns to Marge and goes, you always find the good thing to say. What's the moral bright side on this one? And Marge's like, fuck it, nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone's scamming everything and everything sucks. And then, the fact that then they're at the gas station and a lady's asking for $20 to cover and she's, I swear I'll mail it to you. And she's like, am I really going to be the kind of person that doesn't trust people? No, I'm going to, give her the 20 and hope for the best. And then the misdirect, the grandpa is actually the one who sends the mail that gives it back. That's all nice.
Yeah.
Well, a different, you could slant that, I think, lens that slightly differently. There was no reason for Marge to regain her faith at the end. She was swindled.
Yeah.
And Abe ends his line with, suckers.
Yep.
So he has given them a false confidence in goodness,
which is bad.
Leaving them open to being suckered in the future. I thought it was a nice little.
You can take that as anti-heart as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a cute little. Cynical was probably the right setting the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, it means it comes full circle where he gets to be the scammer in the end.
Yeah.
You know that Parks and Rec episode where they have to build a park and they get like a company to do it, but in the end the park is a scam company who just builds parks and doesn't charge people.
They have to kaboom it, I believe.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, with Paul Shear.
With him just flying like, now off to build another park.
There's no end game for his
it's like polite scamming. Not polite, just joyful scamming.
Yeah, I quite liked it as an ending, but I thought it just crashed into it very hard at the end. Like, obviously, if you ask me what I'd change, it'd be like lose the Loki bit.
Yeah, I think that's
slightly develop more the ending rather than have it be a 3-second grab right at the end. But I thought it was good.
Yeah, well, and it does come to a point that I do like about this episode is it's got good memory, is that it, sets up things and pays them off later in the episode. And same with Marge here. She starts out being like, oh, Grandpa got scammed. Oh, well, that's one bad apple. And then she's like, oh, there's a lot of bad apples. And then, in that rant, she's like, the whole freaking orchard is, is rotten.
Yeah, which does maybe wish they'd kept the grandpa being, because the whole thing is, he didn't just get scammed out of like $50. He lost the $10,000 he'd won over winning at cribbage, and then if he'd been cheating the whole time, that does pull things around nicely.
Yeah, it adds an extra layer to it.
Yeah, it's a shame that I know that now.
Yeah,
Sometimes I wish I didn't research these things.
Thanks a lot, Elliot.
It's the bane of being the host is you have to know these things.
I think for an episode that was dealing with a real issue, which is the prevalence of scamming, the fact that the police don't make any arrests and concede that it'll just happen more if they arrest them and it'll just all happen. I thought there was a lot going on there, sort of in a social commentary sense, that was very cynical. I thought that there was heart missing from this episode. It did feel cynical. I think appropriately so.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't annoyed that the police didn't arrest anybody, or that the Simpsons just went, there's nothing you can do, because what's their solution? Like,
absolutely.
I'm not looking to the Simpsons to solve this problem.
No.
I'm always a bit surprised when they do things like this, where they talk about a faceless conglomerate, that they always put that entity so close by and then stocked, like Mo was working there.
Yeah.
Like, why, I don't know why it couldn't have been in a different city where they're all faceless people that you didn't know. Like, I mean, so I suspect it's because the post-credit sequence where Mo just reads out all the first line of scams, which was actually, I quite liked a few of those gags.
It works for a post-credits because it's just the lines, and this is just the lines. We're not trying to have an extra beat or an extra...
It did need him, like, I think, redialing in between each one, though, because, like, it was just, like... It's like they didn't even bother to animate that one well. It's just like they just had his mouth moving and like... But they left like pauses in between each one.
It felt like they had like 7 good lines they wanted to put in the episode, but they only had to put one in. And they were like, oh, well, we'll just put them in the end sequence because all these lines are funny.
You could at least have like a boop sound of like someone hanging up on them, or like a new call starting.
Or it could be like, you could even just have it as like a old school answering machine with a spooling message or something. But anyway, I don't think Mo needed to be there. They could have all been faceless people working at a faceless. It was weird.
There is a fun hidden implication because he was at the support meeting earlier in the episode that he's taken the if you can't beat him, join him like route. Which
but
does feel pretty Mo to me.
Explore that a little bit more. You can't, in my opinion, you can't just be like, I'm a victim and also I'm a perpetrator. Anyway, we won't talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do show the call center in Shelbyville, so yeah, it definitely could have been that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was a great premise as well, because you really do feel for Abe in the start because he's so concerned and they've done such a good job of having him feed the information.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in jail. Oh, you're in jail, Bart? Yes, me, Bart. That sort of scamming. And then he's on such a high that he helped out as well.
I think that's the bit that makes you bullies you up to really cut you down. It's he's so proud that Bart called him to help and he was able to help. And then the crush of finding out that didn't happen. I think that was the bit that made that more of a wholesome part rather than just a factual an old man got scammed.
Yeah, no, for real. But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
It's pretty close. Again, at this area, we can't compare it to the classics. It's not going to feel that way. But hey, I think we all had a pretty good time. So
yeah.
I echo all that. I found Homer really obsessively rage-filled in this episode. I don't know if that's what he's become in later seasons.
Oh, this was, jerk-ass Homer, but I think the show was aware he's being that kind of jerk and pointing at it rather than letting him run the plot because of it.
Yeah. It was laid on a little thick, I thought.
Yeah.
When he spitefully hoped that Abe would live forever so that he would never have to feel the sting of not getting the money.
That was a good line. I'm so mad I could kill you, but then I wouldn't. Yeah.
I get the inheritance.
Yeah.
I think, they obviously amped up his anger so the gotcha of him also being scammed could be a bigger hit. Yeah. But then I don't think gave that enough time to develop between those two things. It was just I'll never get scammed. Here's my garage full of knives.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've also been scammed as well. Do you think you should apologize to someone? I'm sorry. And you're like, wow, that was
very quick.
A hard 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part about the pacing that I'm saying, it doesn't feel like classic Simpsons, even though, I don't think it's necessarily, bad. It just, it all came around a little bit quick. But, I do buy Homer in this sort of arrogant thing, and then also, the whole loss of something he didn't know he had in the first place, and, how that fucks with him, I really did get a lot out of those fantasy sequences where he looks around at the toaster and then what could have been? It's a 20-slot toaster.
I do like that he looks at the bill and it's instead of being unpaid, it's paid, but it's a cake. And then he goes and looks at the toaster and I was expecting it to also become a cake.
No.
Santa's little helper just becomes one of those long-haired posh dogs.
I think it's an Alsatian?
Afghan?
Afghan, yeah.
What they make Afghans from.
But not Afghanis.
No, different.
But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably would, actually.
Yeah, same here. But, no episode is perfect. What would we like to change? BT, we'll start with you.
I think we all know.
Yep.
Just cut that Loki bit and give yourself a couch gag instead because you don't need it. It doesn't add anything. And we were all very confused. And that did immediately throw up the red flags of, this is where they drive the episode off a cliff because they don't know how to end it.
Yeah, no, it does come into a bit of a shruggy ending, but yeah.
But I'm fine with a shruggy ending because, I don't expect The Simpsons to solve this problem for us.
No.
That's fine. Because they'd spoken about it so earnestly that, it was just okay, this is just a very real one. That's okay. That said, there were bits and pieces throughout. You could tighten up them dogs. But ultimately, just cut that Loki bit and you've got a better episode.
How about you, Phil?
Oh, I was going to say that I think James said it perfectly while we were watching it when the Loki bit came up and James just said, what the hell is going on?
Well, that was also at the moment that Loki turned into fucking Mickey Mouse as well.
Yeah. Take that, business daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I agree. There's lose that bit because you could do it without even reanimating anything. I'd also maybe change a little bit where Marge gives the $20 to the girl at the gas station because she could have easily approached Homer first and Homer could have been oh, no, I'm not falling for this rather than just a random gent. Give us a little bit more time to a couple of things, but generally...
Super Nintendo Chalmers, wasn't it?
It wasn't, was it? Yeah. Yeah, and then thank God he didn't go, I'm not going to give that to you because you're a scammer.
Oh.
Because I would have ripped your TV off the wall. Metaphorically.
But I think, I reckon you wouldn't add a couch gag to this. Just use that extra 3 minutes of low-key free space to just give yourself a bit of breathing room for some of the things.
And there's maybe a bit more strength in having it end with Marge giving the lady the 20 and we don't find out what happens.
Yeah.
Because the idea is, she's decided to trust people, whether that bites her in the ass or not. That's not the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, the trust is the thing earned, not because, if you get back the trust, then your trust isn't really worth anything.
How about you, James? What would you like to change?
Probably the same. I either a lot less Loki or a lot more and have him
thread him throughout,
use him as the impetus for various characters scamming each other, and let Marge across the course of the episode be tempted but ultimately resist and defeat Loki across like the arc of the whole episode. That would have been at least more coherent, I think, than just him popping up for 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was just so odd.
Yeah. Otherwise, I really surprisingly enjoyed that, and I might actually watch some more new seasons because of that episode.
Yeah, well, for our advice on what episodes to pick, check out thesimpsonsindex.com, and why not make yourself a sandwich from the Sandwich Index?
You could Google the Simpsons Index, but it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Annoyingly so.
Not good SEO, surprisingly.
Really, we are really bad at SEO.
Oh, yeah, between this and Thrones of Game, yeah.
Although I'm kind of proud that Thrones of Game is like the least SEO possible.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Did you mean?
If we just called the show like Full Stop, it would have been worse.
And yeah, as for me, just echoing the same points. I did think maybe I do like your idea better, Beach, of having it unknown if she gets the 20 back, but maybe if Grandpa was working with the lady, and then we find out at the end. There's a thing, but also it doesn't. Not everything needs to come around full circle, but yeah, like I was saying before, I do like their original idea of having Grandpa cheating at cribbage this whole time, and like this being a bit of karma for him in a way, like, and just something about the again, remove the Loki bit and just sort of spread out and lead up to the Homer MLM story a little bit more, because like even though I think it lands it in the end, it's just I didn't really like the gags that they built around it, like him shoveling the knives and then them going to burning it. That was another what the fuck is this episode doing moment, like but all right, it is time for our final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes. Sing it, everyone.
Jimmy, do you have any final notes about this episode before we move on to the rankings?
Really enjoyed hearing the word hornswogglers twice.
To bring it back to wrestling. Hornswoggle, great wrestler.
That was
that better come from like the 1950s.
The premise definitely did. He's a little person. They dress him up in leprechaun gear. They eventually revealed that he was Vince McMahon's son. Not actual. That's wrestling kayfabe.
Is this that Keith Sutherland movie?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
Don't
about.
Look Now.
I don't know what it's called. I've only heard about it in Reputation.
Oh, it's great.
But I know the ending.
Fantastic. I quite enjoyed generational wealth is the purest form of wealth there is, which was good. I did like all of the characters in the elderly scam meeting room describing how they'd been scammed, and Monty. Having been swindled out of money to turn the power back on. I am the power company. There was some genuinely great one-line jokes.
There was a kind of unspoken comedy there of like the woman running the course being like, now these people have exploited the nicest parts of you, and there's Mr. Burns sitting there. You're like, I get what you did. I appreciate they didn't point too many fingers at it, have him go, yes, I'm the nicest person I know. It was nice to just have him sitting there.
No, that was great. I enjoyed it.
Phil, any other notes about this episode?
I really got a good chuckle out of when they decided to keep the scammer on the line with Grandpa, and he's like, telling stories is I've been training this for the rest of my life. And he tells this story about back in the day you didn't used to have freezers. You had people who would be called...
You took turns blowing on the meat.
Blowing on the meat, unless you could hire a Dutch family. Like, honestly, it was...
They're talking about if a freezy went
freezies.
and if a freezy went with a smusher and...
Smushers are the ones that squash down your sandwich.
It was one of those, like, that could be, I can see that being memeified, like, old man yells at cloud, or back in my day, you tied an onion to your belt type. That was really good.
No, and it was interesting with this one because, like, they do return to this well so much with the Grandpa rant, and I'm like, okay, why does this one work and, like, the others don't? And like, sometimes it's like the rate gag where, an extended joke works just because it does. Yeah. And this is one where I'm like, well, yeah, there was context to set this up, and, like... It was also a moment of pride for Abe that he was getting back at these guys. So, like, it worked on a few levels.
Also, I think you don't see it coming. He's like, I've been waiting to spend my whole life, I've been training for this. Back in we didn't used to have freezers, and you're like, oh, yeah. And then, like, I don't think anyone expects they used to pay people to take turns blowing on the meat.
Yeah.
And I was writing that down, and I'm like, I'm really going to have to remember the context of this sentence as I'm writing blowing on the meat. Yeah. I do like there's a gag about, what do they call when Homer goes into the support group and yells at Grandpa, and they're like, what do we call people who who shame us like this. They're like, shaming is blaming. And Homer's like, yes, that's the point. I like the sign gag, the parent, is it parent teacher? Or maybe at the community center, it was like, the external sign was, meet the single parent of your child's bully.
Yeah. I missed that one.
Yeah, so
that's good.
Yeah, that's about it. There was a weird guy in the call center who, for some reason, they stopped, Bart pointed him out, and he goes, why does he look familiar? And he says, in a really weird audio grab, don't have a cow man, and then walks off. And I was like, was that
old Joel?
I don't know. What
that was clearly Nancy Cartwright. Like,
oh, true.
You know,
I just thought that was the person that had scammed Dave, because that's the one that sounds enough like Bart.
Yeah, that's what I thought there too. Yeah,
why Bart would know that, I don't know.
Especially by
visual.
Yeah, and also why did they need anyone who sounded like Bart?
Yeah, for a second I suspected it was a weird throwback. You know when Bart walks on a construction site, gets on the megaphone and starts ordering people around, and then the actual foreman comes back and is like, "What are you doing? I don't sound like a 10-year-old boy." I caramba.
Yeah.
And also like just the audio clip
I don't
was
think it was
like,
the same character model.
It seemed like it was really a really flat audio file that had been pushed, like the peaks have been pushed really high up. It was I just found it very jarring. Anyway, that might be. That's all my notes.
All right, BT, any other notes?
Yeah. Look, at the very beginning, I do like all the pensioners being like, make it rain in a modest fixed amount.
Yeah.
And look, I'm working in retail, I can tell you that's a thing. You can tell when pension day is. A lot of cask wine getting sold.
Here comes the money.
Oh, yeah. Homer, like, looking for something to rage slam on his way out, just finding a globe and spinning it, and then it comes back later when there shouldn't be a globe there. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I
works.
enjoyed that.
Yep. And my last one is Loki's like, aha, now that I have tricked you, Marge, due to the old laws, I get a kiss. And the kiss owner's like, haha, there are no old laws. Yeah, and he's like, the god of mischief strikes again. That was pretty good. I'm like, I'll remember that for later on.
I did think it was weird that like Marge and Homer were like going to this parent-teacher thing, and then he chooses that platform to air his grievances.
I kind of took it as he's just ranting at anyone who will give him the slightest stage.
Yeah, well, it's at this moment, it's like efficiency of storytelling is like, is this the best use of like to cut away for this? But then I think it landed it for me when Principal Skinner's like, I think I know someone that can help you.
Yeah.
You know, my mum got scammed into thinking that I was going to get a punk rock mohawk.
Yeah. A mohawk is a certain hair.
I know what it is. Yeah, that was good.
That was very Skinner to try and explain it.
And my final note was, a joke from the beginning I liked where Grandpa was celebrating the money by going, I'm going to give myself a deep ear Q-tipping. It's just,
Just Q-tip as a verb is very disturbing.
Yeah. Quit your Q-tips, everybody. They're worse for you than smoking. It's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we're rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode's just meh, you give it a participant, but for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm gonna go first, let me show you how it's done. Yeah, look, solid silver from me. It's just not quite getting to gold for me personally because of the the Loki bit and then the sort of storytelling quibbles, but there's decent time. BT.
Yeah, I'm going to sit on a silver as well. The Loki bit did make it flirt with bronze, but it doesn't hurt it. It's just baffling. Like, you'll have a few question marks in your head, and then it'll go away, and the rest of it's quite solid. So, yeah, and the fact that we got a few good room laughs, and even in discussing it, got some laughs, that's a mark of a decent episode.
You know what? That's a good point. Room laughs are such a rarity. Even in episodes we go, that was okay. Like, we had a few. Phil?
I'm going to bring it up so it gets averaged down and go for the gold.
Hey.
I actually enjoyed watching this, and that hasn't happened in the new season for a long, long time. Yeah, there are some obvious errors or things that definitely need fixing, but to sit down and watch half an hour
and have a good time,
28 minutes TV, and walk away going, "Oh, that was really funny," and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I say well done, whoever wrote this.
It was Nick Dahan, not a common name in The Simpsons. But
I don't think we've heard it before.
Good work, Nick.
Yeah, well done, Nick.
Jimmy,
I was going to go silver. I'm going gold. I'm going gold with Phil. No, Phil talked me around. I feel the exact same way, and it may just be a legacy of not having watched much Simpsons lately. But I'm going to go. This has encouraged me to go back and watch more than the first 12 seasons of The Simpsons, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy some episodes. That's great. Gold. I liked it. I had a good time.
I would take that as, because normally when we bring people in who have not been watching a lot of the later seasons, and Elliot and I will like, we'll bronze that. They're usually like, fuck, are you kidding? Fail.
Yeah.
So for, someone who hasn't seen a lot of the modern era to be like, actually, gold.
I really enjoyed that.
There's a lot of good laughs.
And even the Loki bit was objectively funny. It just
Yeah, it was
just
confusing.
weird.
It was very out of
just-
place.
yeah,
It was its only problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll average out into being a dull gold.
Oh God! Yeah, we win. We did it. Take that, you silverists.
Well, it'll be
Silverist. You've been called a lot of things in my life.
Step down one step.
Well, this one will be stepping up and sharing the number one podium with our other dull gold from season 33. It'll be joining Lisa's Belly, which
Nice.
is an episode that I think we were both surprised at how much we enjoyed that one, because it's like
Very
Lisa's
concerned about
The opening of that is so close to being classic era quality. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think Lisa gets on a new medication, which makes her a bit put on a bit of weight, and Marge points it out, and then it's like it does become like an issues episode, but it is so fucking well done that absolutely worth checking out. And we're going to talk a little bit more about season 33 as we go a bit later in the season as we review The Longest Marge. We'll be back.
That's a long march.
I'm quite concerned.
Just like when you pick a cat up and it gets really long.
It's the same size.
It's a long cat.
And we are back, and we just watched another episode from season 33. This was divisible by that. It was episode 11. It was The Longest March. I've been playing a lot of blueprints lately. I was going to point it out, actually, Phil. I realized the notepad I gave you was like my blueprints one. So there's going to be a lot of crazy-looking fucking scribbles in that. And yeah, there we go. There's the cutout letters that I used to solve one of the puzzles in that.
Yeah, I did think that maybe you had kidnapped somebody. And this was you trying to make a ransom letter? But
No, it was just
cutting out
me
your own
trying
handwriting.
to solve the fucking gallery puzzle.
Dog, hubris, mundanity. Seal, some room, something, gluttony, question mark?
Blueprints. It's an amazing game, but an absolute
Sloth.
headfuck. Anyway, this was The Longest Marge. First released in January of 2022. It was directed by Matthew Nastuck, written by Brian Kelly. In this episode, Marge and Mr. Burns are
Sorry,
competing.
your face realizing you had to synopsize this.
Yeah. Like, I don't know where to start, but
Yeah.
like in the most basic sentence, Marge and Mr. Burns are competing for parenthood over this new football player for the Springfield Atoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah, that's what happened.
Hey guys, what'd you think?
Yeah, mixed bag.
Yeah. It had some good laughs.
Yeah.
The story was...
Yeah.
I feel
I'd
like
say-
they got who was the guest star?
Guest star of this episode playing Grayson Mathers was Beck Bennett. Who,
Benzie.
I'm told he was an SNL cast member. I didn't do much research into finding what else he did that I might recognize him from. But yeah, he was very prominent throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Right.
While we're in the guest star corner, we also had John Mulaney reprising his role as Warburton Pinker. I don't remember. The hipster that was advising Mr. Burns at the start. Yeah, that was John Mulaney.
right.
Didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah. All right, sure.
And also Adam Schefter was playing himself again, throwing to the football fans here that name.
Yeah, he sort of does leaks of NFL news. That
right.
perfectly on brand with what he did in the episode.
Yeah.
That worked. That worked.
Yeah, so...
With Bart tweeting him the
Yeah.
the secrets from inside the house.
The inside source. Marge is now finished folding the blankets. Who told him that? That was good. Yeah, so a little bit more football focused in this one than the last one. That was just one sketch in the otherwise episode. But yeah, it's a bit more football focused. Yeah. How'd it land with you guys?
Some may say entirely football focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was football-y parts were footballish.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yes, it had football themes.
Inside
Yeah.
It was definitely football adjacent. I'd say.
Yeah.
Football media.
I think
type of
they were obviously riffing on the spoiled superstar
Yeah,
rookie
definitely.
meme, and it was okay. I don't understand how he really came into the orbit of The Simpsons.
That's kind of my problem is everyone, it starts with, we're in the nuclear power plant and it's completely deserted and everyone's just watching the TV of the draft picks. And they're all really excited when they get this player, but we, for a very long time, have no concept of who that is. So why they're super hyped for a brand new player and why we should care is very much lost until, I mean, we can get there eventually, but it feels like, okay, they're excited about this. No, but no one even has a line of like, even early on, it's like, oh yeah, here are his averages from college and he doesn't, he does himself and is always very outspoken and fun. I follow him on the socials, something.
It was also weird to me because, like, it sets up at the start of the episode that they're, like, proud of their Springfield Adams losing streak, and, like, Homer and Lenny and Carl have painted, like, 0 to 17 on
Well,
there.
I wanted to ask, is that, like, does the biggest losing team get to pick first or something?
Yeah, it's a strategy.
Right.
Okay.
Many years ago, there was a quarterback coming into the league called Andrew Luck, and the Indianapolis Colts the year before allegedly lost out their games suck for luck. They were just trying to just be crappy enough to get the best draft pick so they could have him, because the worst ranked team gets the first pick in the next year's draft. So it made sense in that. Like that would be a strategy a team would use, I guess.
Especially if you're already a sucky team.
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I do kind of want that, like, very rarely do we say, please spell this joke out for me a bit more, but just a line of like, we lost all those games just so we could be the first pick, and that's enough for me to, as a non-football fan, to go, oh, okay.
Yeah, to me, I was like, surely they want to continue their suck streak. Why are they happy about this player? Oh, well, whatever.
This is the opposite of what they've been doing.
Yeah. But yeah, let's hook into this one. Phil, we'll start with you this time. What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
I think, again, that there was still quite a good number of actual laughs in this. Like, there were some really funny moments, mostly meme-ish, like throwaway lines and stuff, but they still had genuine comedy in it. I feel like they didn't really know what the story was.
Yeah.
And even after watching it, I'm not really sure what the story actually is.
Yeah.
And I just had a thought that when you were saying, like, the main guest star was a SNL host, maybe they went, oh, here's a guy who's from the drama club and a famous comedian, or, you know, a famously well-known comedy person. Maybe we should counter that by going full football and then merge those two things together to like
the central joke.
Yeah, kind of like a funny average that will appeal to everyone, because it was very skewed into like football gags and football references, and some of them that, like, of course, I don't watch a lot of the American media that's not the football games. There's a few things that I didn't even get. I mean, I did like the constantness of like just calling it sports rather than a game or anything. You know, sports ball. I'm a man. I'm a football man. That's the end. Yeah, I think it was like a pretty good caricature of, you know, the hyped up rookie saying things that are all just single sentences but not connected to each other.
Yeah.
His press conference at the beginning where he just said like 14 lines that were all just like perfect one-liner grabs, but then just smashed together with no coherent thought.
I quite like this. It's like, I sleep at night, and
what does he mean?
Opinions exist. Deal with it.
Yeah. So that's Beck Bennett. I don't know if he's going to be familiar to you. Apparently, he did 8 seasons of SNL.
Right.
Again,
I've never seen an episode of SNL in my life, so
at all.
No.
Wow.
I've seen bits.
Well,
I mean,
I grew up before the internet, and there was no one playing SNL on Australian TV.
Well, yeah, even then, like, the SNL DVDs were, like, pretty huge. I remember renting out, like, the Chris Rock and Mike Myers and Adam Sandler
the
compilations.
Christopher Walken one.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, that sketch, goes beyond SNL and everything, But I get why they'd get, like, an actual actor for this. God, I'm just looking through his...
Oh, yeah, you would want an actor, not a sports star. He's in it enough that the usual stilted delivery of most sports stars would get annoying.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, and I think if they did get a sports star, there's very few that they could get that wouldn't want to just play themselves or, you know...
Or be happy to take the piss out of themselves constantly in every sentence.
Yeah, oh man. He was in Is This Cake? He's apparently going to be in the upcoming Superman movie.
What a
lot of
hefty career trajectory.
Yep.
A lot of voice roles like Angry Birds 2. And Sing 1.
Wow, he's definitely made it. He's a pig in Sing, a bird, I assume, in Angry Birds 2.
Could be a pig in Birds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Constantly paying.
Just a pig career.
Yeah, he's a pig in Is It Cake?
James, how about you? What stands out to you for better or worse?
I like the middle part where we got to understand why Grayson was a selfish character.
Yeah,
It was
surprisingly,
neglected.
the old cliche of "I'm going to go live with the Simpsons" was actually the best part.
Yeah, that worked. That was nice. I like that. I thought it was an okay episode. One thing that really stood out, and I might be crossing into a different part of this segment, is the Trapdoor app. TRAPP.
I got a good laugh from that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. There was some good jokes in it.
Yeah, that's it. Not the strongest story, but I agree with you. Yeah, him living with the Simpsons is the creamy middle I liked in this episode, whereas the start I'm like, okay, where are we going with this?
In the end, you're like, okay, where are we going with this?
Well, yeah, even the end, it feels like it stops on a dime as well, because then, it's at the awards show, and he's invited both Marge and Mr. Burns to be be his +1, and they're like, "Oh, who does he love more?" But then they see each other's side, and it's all nice. And then he's like, "And I want to thank everything to my fiance who I met 3 days ago," and then it's all about that. And then they're just like, sunrise, sunset, cats in the cradle, credits.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Like, there were some fun lines, at least first from that. I did like, hope you're ready for total financial independence, babe.
Yeah.
No, control.
Oh, control, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and pivoting from chugging brandy to all ages hard seltzer. But,
yeah, even chugging brandy is quite fun.
yeah.
Like, every time I saw that, I had like, chugging.
Oh, that was a great bit. And like setting it up at the start with, John Mulaney's marketer guy being like, your campaign of like sipping it slowly and looking
Sometimes
at it.
I just smell it.
Yeah. And like, with all the sight gags there of, old evil people hunched over their glass of brandy, swilling it with the hand turned up. Like, very good shit. And then just rebranding to, I'll do me chugging brandy.
Yeah. And I do think, like, because normally, like, a social media character that comes up and tells you things is really very dry and painful.
Yeah.
But I thought whoever it was it came out really well. Like, he was a highlight in the first 5 minutes of story and comedy, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, whenever they try to do a modern character, it is always that weird dissonance of Simpsons have smartphones now. What the fuck? But this one, it felt a bit more organic and the jokes were good.
Yeah, I think that's what really helped land with the Trapdoor app that Smithers has. It wasn't pull out and it's like, oh, sir, they want you to pay another $5.99 to continue using. It's like what they usually do. But the fact that it just worked and it was like, at this modern day, they would just have an app for the multiple trapdoors hidden throughout the.
And also, they didn't have to linger on like a sight gag on the name of the phone, like it wasn't called Peach or something, or
it was just called Trapdoor, but with 2 P's, so it was like app trapdoor.
But that's fine. Normally, like even in the last episode, the grandpa's phone, you got to see like the geezer mobile or whatever it was called, and then they really showed you like the gag that was involved in the phone. Whereas this was just like he pulls up a phone. Yeah, there was no named gag or anything. It was just so you could read.
Yeah, the tech was there for the joke, not the other way around.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, good point.
How about you, BT? What stands out to you from this one for better or worse?
Look, it's one I'm very split down the middle on because, so what's the guy's name? Grayson Mathers has like a terrible first game. It's like, oh no, we got to fix your image. We're going to get you out in front of some fans. And they go to the Springfield Elementary and he's just, in the library. And I didn't like Marge walking around going, books here, I got books. Hardy Boys, Goosebumps, anybody? Yeah, that was fun.
It was a bit more modern. I think it was Wimpy Kid and Captain Underpants.
I love he went to Harvey Boys and Goosebumps.
Yeah, look, I couldn't think of books fast enough.
No, just exactly the thing you were reading when you were 12. Yeah.
You own a bookshop.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I pay attention. Anyway.
You just take all the many, many copies of Twilight that have been donated to you and turn them into pens.
God, I've done that for a while.
Hey, it's a good bit.
Well, yeah, if it was more efficient, I would have done more of it. Anyway. But there's a bit where so he's starting to talk to all the kids, and for a while they're following him, but then the bullies start heckling him, and everyone starts yelling, "What bust, bust," or whatever. And Mr. Burns is like, "Oh no, the children are destroying him with their hot takes," and I was like, on the one hand, I hate that Mr. Burns said that. On the other hand, it's kind of funny that he's saying hot takes.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to land on that one. It's like he wouldn't know what that is, but I like that he's attempting it, but then I don't know where to land on that thing.
No, Mr. Burns, man, falls either side of the end zone for me in this one. In that, I liked him at the start of the episode, but it's one where I feel like Harry Shearer's voice kind of got tired towards the end, and like,
we've talked before about how Mr. Burns sounds old now, and that's really weird.
And so Marge was especially crazy.
Yeah, I did see you guys turn to each other and be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's like kind of the problem with us now is like we're kind of desensitized to Marge now, whereas like Harry Shearer's decline has been a bit more recent for us, and like especially in the back end of this episode, some of his line deliveries were woeful. Like that second act break where he goes, "What have you done?" Like that was like we did 27 takes.
Like Jasper. Yeah.
I thought that was like take on a meme or something, like kind of like a Planet of the Apes.
Now there are some where it's just he sounds like he's running out of air as he's doing Mr. Burns, and not in like a intentional comedy way. It's just,
poor guy.
Right.
That's the thing. People get older and their voices start, change and all that kind of thing.
They'll replace him with AI. It'll be all right.
look, that's very fucking real.
Yep. Like, yeah, that's it. A couple of these actors are circling their mid-70s, and like it is quite frankly a miracle that one of the core 6 haven't died yet.
Yeah, for sure.
I think last time we had Paul Salt on one of these, he did have the terrifying vision of the future. Is like, imagine not too far from now, you can download the Simpsons AI and just plug into it, give me an episode about Homer and Bart doing this, and it'll just generate something. And he was talking about how hollow and empty that is, that then that's not a shared experience with anyone else. It's just a thing that existed in an algorithm, and there's nothing to it.
Imagine how many episodes you'll have to review then.
No.
Season 39. Look, 400 episodes.
I've often shouted podcast till we die. I will take death.
Well, what stands out to me, for better or worse, from this one? Look, I do, just to bring it back to the whole Marge of this all, like, I like the relationship that she has with Grayson in this one, and like, because the story he tells is that from age 2 he was taken away to football school and never saw his parents. So
it's a very Citizen Kane kind of moment.
Yeah. And just the whole like re-socializing him and getting him used to a family dynamic, like that was parts of the episode that I was really enjoying. And like Lisa coaching him through doing the dishes and like doing the replay on the TV.
It's like, here's where you went wrong.
The game tape,
Yeah, it's kind of stuff like that, and I kind of wish there was a bit more of it, because like the whole blending of like how you would coach a football team or a football player, like, and applying that to just regular banal home stuff, but having to do it in this way because, you know, that's how you're going to reach this kid.
And I also like it didn't backfire at all. It wasn't, oh, he's out there playing football, but now he's too nice to everybody, but he's actually doing really well.
Yeah. That was a nice part, that it improved his game.
Yeah.
That was a nice call.
Much more than the chugging brandy, where he was so hungover, Lisa said he has dad asleep in his car outside of Moe's look.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad...
Cold eyes of a winner.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
that was it.
I like that follow-up. It started with, oh, there he is. And Bart's like, oh, he looks pretty hungover. And then Lisa goes in with, oh, he looks like dad outside of Moe's. Like, you need the second one. You don't need the first one. You don't need to tell me he looks hungover and then use a reference the kids get.
Oh, no, you need both, because Bart and Lisa were barely in this episode.
Bart needed his one line to get paid.
I mean, even like that bit we talked about before where Bart feeding the information, he didn't actually say anything there. And then, with Lisa and the dishes, that was over a music montage. He didn't say it. Like, they needed their... to justify their fucking $300,000 an episode or whatever they're making.
Bart goes, oh, what's wrong with him? And Lisa's like, oh, he looks like dad asleep in the car outside. Yeah, that would have been enough. But
do the core 6 get paid $300,000 per episode regardless of whether they actually do any work in it, or must they feature?
Oh, look, I don't know the ins and outs. I haven't perused their contracts.
I mean, we've downloaded the contracts. We just haven't gone through them yet.
But according to a recent Google search, and I know those things aren't, especially reliable, especially these days, but that is the generally known amount that they're making.
Right.
Is that US or Australian?
US.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a lot of money.
You can see why no one's quit in 40 years.
Yeah.
How many episodes a season?
It varies these days.
Varies, but
20
generally 22.
Yeah.
Good gig if you can get it.
Oh, yeah.
7 days worth of work.
Oh.
Yeah, and the rest of the time, Hank Azaria is now a Bruce Springsteen cover band.
Yeah, that's it.
Does he really?
Yeah.
He's actually pretty good.
It's been a wildly successful tour. Like they've they've been able to add dates and move up to bigger venues and such. Like
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's so weird when Bruce Springsteen is still actually touring.
Yeah.
It's like
probably cheaper.
He's his own competition now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, Bruce Springsteen's on Broadway and he's doing his, 4-hour shows with storytelling, and people are just like,
Play Born to Run!
Let's just have Mo do it, And and I think he's been able to hit on social media because of that. He'll do like Springsteen songs as Wiggum, then as Mo, then as Snake, and whatever.
Which is fun, yeah.
Honestly, if I was at a Springsteen concert and then Wiggum did, 7th Street Freeze Out, I'd be like, this is fucking awesome.
But how was the wackiness? Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
Look, there is a fun running gag of Ferraris, and I did quite like Mr. Bed's walking in and goes, oh, I know what's wrong with you, not enough Ferraris. And then later on, when Grayson goes for like a I'm sad drive, it has just chain-linked Ferraris
That
driving
was
on.
very good.
Yeah, it was a good pullback and reveal, that one.
Yeah.
Like, especially because he bragged to the kids, I have 3 Ferraris, and then later on goes, I actually have 6. I wanted to buy all the blue ones. I love that sort of line as like a way to lean into the caricature of this, spoiled sports star.
And it's nice that it has a memory, and there are very, very rarely do I not like a callback to something I didn't expect to get a callback.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the whole core of chugging brandy was itself absurd.
Oh, yeah.
Just wacky. And the fact that Homer gets given a
foam
chugging
dome
brandy
of chugging
beer.
brandy.
But it still has the brandy glasses in the sides.
I mean, of course, you can't put brandy in a plastic cup.
Outstanding.
I assume.
And it's just like, because brandy has a bit of a viscosity to it, like the idea of chugging, and it's also potent. So, like,
Or,
it hit my throat weird watching these people chug
even
it.
Duffman rebranded as, we haven't decided, catchphase, TBD.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. And that was a bit of like an
He was
extended...
Chugman or Do Me Man?
Because it's you to you, Brandy.
Do you, man? Yeah.
You do you. Yeah. Any other wacky moments, cartoony things that stood out to you from this one?
When they were booing him after his first game, they all threw their Nerf sticks onto him, and then they threw nacho
commemorative nacho
helmets. But then, I did find the cut to black quite strange.
Yeah, it was a weird fade out, and like, oh, are we going to act break? No, okay, he's just passing out.
Yeah,
slowly.
Yeah.
No, both act breaks were kind of weak, but yeah, it's a shame because I did like the souvenir nacho helmet and being like, yeah, there's a good evolution of the nacho hat gag.
Yeah, that worked fine, but I think he could have been donked on the head by one rather than
just slowly fade out.
fading to black. Yeah.
When he's showing like him, he gets taken to football camp when he's a child, and they've just got a picture that says the alphabet and then X and 0.
I missed that. That's good. And even the absurdity of him like being like, and I threw a pacifier and a natural spiral and all that sort of stuff. There was some decent animation.
Was it the Texas-Alabama border or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Where football is life.
And being like, and the coach was so supportive and like just giving him a deed to a mansion and a briefcase full of money and all that sort of stuff. It's,
support.
Yeah, the support. He was really
and also
supportive.
the line of like, "Are you sure you want me to live here, Marge? I'm clinging, I'm needy, I need 9,000 calories a day." And it's like, so's my husband.
I need 9,000 calories a day or I'll die. I do like the line where he's like, Lisa at the dinner table, Lisa goes, you recently graduated college. What did you major in? And he's like, actually, they never told me. And Lisa just goes, that means communications.
Yeah. And him and Bart fighting over the steak. That was some good animation there. And like Marge pulling it into line. Like, Marge is the authority figure in this. I really enjoyed.
Brings me back to my first note of Heart, where he's all like, I get it now. In a family, you don't do you do others. Okay, sure. And then later on, he's got the line of, you don't have to be selfish to be success. It was like the noise.
Yeah, so how was the heart in this one? We had, a bit of Marge looking after this grown adult man baby.
Yeah, but there was the first bit for me was Monty when he gets the hug and realizes.
He's like, so this is what it's like to be brought in.
And then it's like holding him like a koala 1 second later.
Yeah. But it was good to have that early on because it really informed it wasn't just money throughout the rest for Mr. Burns, even though, like he always says it is, you get, okay, this is that little bit extra he's not saying.
Yeah. No, Mr. Burns was a weird one for the heart in this one because, and I don't know the episode itself had a good idea of what it wanted to do with it, because like Mr. Burns kind of gets shelved from this episode, and like I thought it was going to be a bit more of a back and forth feud between Marge and Mr. Burns about getting the affections of this guy, and it's like, is it really about helping his career or helping himself? But it didn't end up being any of those things, and like, if you could level of criticism, he doesn't really show up enough to have any impact on the story. So. Yeah, and even then with Peyton going, I'm a mama's boy, like not being aware of the connotation or whatever, and then pulling out the cookies and milk. But there's never any backlash for that either from the... Yeah, it wasn't, next day cover of sports magazine illustrations.
Sports baby.
Being like, mama's boy. But, I mean, as long as you win games, I can't imagine it matters.
Yeah, probably not that much. But I found that like they did like a good parallel of the divorced parents trope with the one like fighting, especially like during his birthday where he's like the first birthday party he'd ever had, and then Mr. Burns turns up in a limo with like a bunch of merch and everyone's excited. Yeah, and he's like, we're gonna go to all the clubs. And like that was pretty good, but then that was the only time that ever happened. Yeah, and then we didn't see Mr. Burns again until basically we went to the award ceremony. So you're like, there was no in the universe that they built. I didn't see any way that there'd be a conflict for Grayson between Mr. Burns and Marge because he didn't get anything from Mr. Burns apart from a job.
Yeah, and while I like the note of them just being like, seeing him get hitched up with this girl at the end, Caitlin or whatever, then just being like,
it's like Caitlin _9772.
Yeah. I love you, Caitlin _9772.
I think terrifyingly it was Caitlin _97, which I presume is the year she was born.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And I'm like, oh, God.
How old am I again? Shit.
And I do like how that there's an acceptance there, but I don't feel like we went enough on a journey to make that feel like Mr. Burns and Marge being like, oh, let him go, let him make his mistakes. Like,
yeah, he's a grown man now and just got to leave the nest.
Yeah, and it was kind of surrounded by this whole sportsy awards, which, mixed bag of jokes for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
some of it worked. I thought, the jokes, they went more, some of the team names were attempts at gags, but didn't really land.
Yeah.
I thought that the funniest jokes were really in the football academy for babies.
Yeah.
That was where all the comedy was for me. But yeah, it was okay. It was footballish.
There were some sight gags, like the names of the awards, that got me, like, even the run at the end with, like, where it was just like an absolute shotgun blast of them. There were a couple that got through that I liked.
Yeah, but again, that feels like we came up with 20 good ideas. We can only really use 3 of them. So we won't use the 3 best. We'll just...
And now I'll have someone read the rest of them.
They kind of were, though, because they put up a bunch of them that, like, watching on TV, Homer, Bart, and Lisa were reading out and like, oh, I'm looking forward to this, I'm looking forward to that. And then, like, as the night went on, I was like, oh, this is just how you're filling out the rest of this episode, is just with these awards, names, gags.
Yeah, which is really weird because the end of this episode came so abruptly. Like, it was just like Monty and Marge reconcile their differences and are both proud of their son in different ways. But that kind of was a reward that wasn't earned because we didn't really see them at loggerheads. And then they're just like, oh, we'll just have to work well together. And then that literally just the end. Yep. Although, what did she say? Oh, you bring a man into this world and 2 weeks later or whatever it is. And then it's like, that's the end.
One day he's a sweet, innocent creature. Suddenly it's 2 weeks later and he's leaving you for an Instagram model.
Yeah. And it's like, but I felt like that was just such a handbrake fall off a cliff ending that I really felt like they had a great concept. Well, to be fair, they had a reasonable concept for the episode. It peaked at the middle, which kind of makes a little bit of sense. And then they just didn't know where it was going.
Out.
Yeah, like the parody lost steam and they didn't have anything else to back it back up with anything else.
Yeah, that's the theme of today, just ending problems.
Yep.
But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these characters we know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
Yeah, no integrity breaks, really. Like, obviously, Mr. Burns is a bit more emotionally invested in this, but I think they justify that.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing I'm upset about.
Definitely a Marge vibe.
Yeah.
Homer seems on brand for a guy who hates someone who's bad at sports and then immediately turns around and loves him again. Bart was there.
Bart and Lisa were certainly there, as much as Maggie was, yeah.
Yeah, Maggie, who had like one scene where he's like, sure, the rookie doesn't mind sleeping,
sharing a room.
And Maggie's here.
Why do they keep putting strangers to sleep in the same room as their baby? I do not understand.
And also, why no one wants that? The baby doesn't want that.
No,
you don't want to sleep in a room with a baby.
I think it's worth it to call the baby the rookie.
Yeah,
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but yes, no. Would you watch this episode again?
Yeah.
Nah.
Not because it was bad, just because there's no point.
There's nothing else to get out of it. But
even in the Simpsons playlist of football focused episodes, it definitely sort of falls down the leaderboard a lot.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I didn't even watch it the first time.
Yeah,
It's just like it's the Cheetos of episodes where you eat it. And you're
did I have anything? I can't remember.
But what would we like to change? BT, kick it off.
Oh God, I guess a lot of things that we already spoke on. But interweave Mr. Burns in there a little bit more. As much as I kind of enjoyed a lot of the jokes right on that little ending bit, those weren't even over credits. That was extra time they could have put into the episode.
Yeah, true.
If you want to have this, metaphor of parenthood, put that in a bit more. It's kind of just feels like it's there at a certain point, but I never gravitate anything to it. This is what I'd have to I don't know what's wrong with it exactly, but there are things to change, but I'm not sure what they are.
How about you, Phil?
Let's go around the circle, see if we can find any.
I would say that if you're going to do a divorced parents fighting over one child for it's their love and they have differing views of the world, you need to lean into that and do it the whole way. Like we saw no times where Mr. Burns would pick him up for his weekend, take him to Disneyland and do VIP treatments and have all the all-star celebrity money things you could buy, all the fun times, and then come back to the Simpsons house to go to school and do Monday to Friday. Like there was no conflict. Like I said, there was no point. I never felt that there would be any point if Grayson had to choose between Mr. Burns and Marge, why he would ever choose Mr. Burns, because he was exciting for one scene, but then he also used Silly Soap to write "Wash Me" on his chest, which I found hysterical. But there was no conflict for him. Like he was a changed character. He grew, which was great. But then there was no pulling back to the other side of things. So there was no.
It needed to be the whole. Here you have a family, but with Mr. Burns, you can have everything.
Yeah. So there needs to be a pull both directions. You need to see the positives and the negatives from both Marge and Mr. Burns' side, and understand why he would have a conflict. But at the moment, it's just like he loves this new life, and then suddenly he disappears after their one fight, and he turns back up with a Instagram model. Also, how many tickets to the sports awards games did he get? Because his fiance, and Marge and Mr. Burns,
got 3+1s
scalping.
How about you, James? What would you like to change?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Suggesting that it's scalpers would be kind of funny.
I echo what Phil has just said. There needed to be some dramatic tension with Grayson having to choose between the two worlds he was allowed to exist in. And probably more importantly, they needed to explain to us why each of the lifestyles contributed differently to his performance. Like if being the brash, cocky Mr. Burns acolyte makes him a great quarterback, then why would he becoming a better person?
If that makes him more fun to watch off the field, but he's not playing as well, whereas Marge makes him really boring off field, and so there's no media traction, but he's playing better. That'd be something.
Yeah, they just needed to play with any of those dramatic conflicts, but they did none of them, and it just sort of walks us through to the conclusion, and then it's literally over. It's like a cliff ending, just off the cliff.
Handbrake ending.
It's not a cliffhanger. No one's hanging. You just fall off the cliff.
No hanging on.
Yeah, it was just such an abrupt ending.
I like the term handbrake ending. It's like, wow, we stopped for that cliff. I was lucky.
Anyway, turn the car off. We'll walk home.
Yeah, I guess we're fine now. We'll just we'll just turn around.
Yeah. Like my instinct is to say, well, they didn't dig in onto the whole what is the negative side of Grayson being coddled by Marge. Like, is there like a bit of regression that goes on, or like maybe some insecurity that develops? But that's also not a very interesting story either. But yeah, the idea of her and Burns like fighting and like realizing that it's somewhere in the middle where he's got the drive and ambition, but also he's like a well-centered person
with a stability.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of like, I think this thing needs a few more drafts, and like also it's very inefficient. Like they spend a lot of time on that intro bit before they set up where they're going, and then it's at the expense of like not developing this Marge vs. Burns story over this person. And yeah, so while I like the ending that they like have an acceptance that, okay, he's grown up now and he's gonna go out on his life and make his own mistakes, you know, he's flown the nest, like it doesn't hit as hard because we haven't been on a journey with Mr. Burns and Marge, like because it's nice that they have this like seeing each other's perspective, but like I think it would have been nicer if we skipped that and it was like they were fighting until they realized, until they saw him with Caitlin_97 that like, it's time to let him go. Yeah.
He's become his own train wreck.
Yeah, hard to feel, they're seeing each other's perspective when we didn't really see those perspectives collide all that much.
Yeah, fully. All right, it's time for our final notes. Phil, we'll start with you this time. What are your notes that you want to mention from this episode before we move on to the rankings?
I did like the day before Grayson's first big game, Marge says he needs to get some sleep, and he's like, I'm going to go hit the hay, which is a club.
Yeah.
And then we're going to hit the sack, which is another club.
Yeah.
When he was yelling, my urethra is on fire, was strange.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, too much brandy, apparently.
I guess.
That's your urethra light.
Like a weird thing to admit to.
Yeah.
He called Peyton Manning a chicken fried Frankenstein. Which I don't understand what that means, but it's funny. I will definitely try and remember that for later on.
Take that, Manning.
Yeah. And I like that he does have his good football game and they beat the defense 50-0. Defensive players are immediately retiring on a bus to go play Canadian football.
Yeah. How about you, Jimmy? What's final notes?
Only one. The tiniest mega church he's ever been in was great. And then as he leaves, he offers some cash for the fuel for the private jet, Pastor.
I quite like that.
The idea that a Texan football player just cannot come to grips with just a down-to-earth
A regular
local church.
And
That was good. That was good.
Like a wad of cash is always expected.
Sorry, one last one.
Yeah.
When they have an ice bath after the game and they slink into it, and I think Burns says, "Oh, a body temperature bath," and they're sitting in a bucket of ice.
I almost thought it was like enough without the line, like just to have him go, like,
Yeah,
and
that
then
he's
kind
totally
of you
fine.
extrapolate it, like, but not bad. BT.
Let's see. Lenny has the line when they're watching Grayson on TV. And so it's like, wow, I wish I was half myself as he is.
Yeah.
But, okay, that's good. When Grayson kind of flubs the first game, they pour haterade over him like, fuck, that sucks.
I liked it because it reminded me of, to bring it back to wrestling again, AEW
course.
wrestler Jamie Hayter. Her finishing move is the haterade.
Yeah, but that's like a move for someone whose name is Hater.
Yeah.
It's not, instead of Gatorade, get this. Haterade. God, I'm worth my money.
It does like tie into this episode, like saying haters and fucking lit and things like that. Where
They're hot takes.
yeah, it's a little bit cringy.
I do like the idea that like Mr. Burns, when he does become current, is still 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hot takes.
There's a bit where, they're doing the interview after Grayson's good game and they're all pushing him for details. Like, come on, you can tell us. It's just us reporters here. No one will know.
Yeah.
Burns has a line, the only little heart moment of he had to realize he's a man, not a brand, but that's a little too on the nose to be really a joke or anything. It's okay. And that was actually my last note, bit of a downer.
Well, bring it back up at the
It
start.
wasn't even a downer. It was just a
Yeah, it was just a
bit.
not good bit to make.
At the
Way to
start
stop
where,
before the cliff.
where Mulaney is pitching like the alternate ad campaigns. Like, well, let's get a celebrity endorsement. You know, everyone sees George Clooney drinking tequila, they want to be just like him. Or what do they say about Ryan Reynolds?
Smug and arrogant or something.
Drink his gin.
And I do like in that bit, they're like, you can either have Harrison Ford or Dolly Parton. They're the only people that don't have their own alcohol brands. But now Harrison Ford has done a thing for, I think, Glenlivet.
Yeah.
For a scotch.
Dolly Parton had her own range of sparkling.
Oh, right. But I've seen this amazing, I don't know if it's technically an outtake or if it's a social media outtake, take, where he's walking down the hill backlit by the beautiful Scottish light in a kilt holding a bottle, and he just goes, let's fucking shoot this piece of shit, goddammit.
I can believe it too. Apparently Harrison Ford is very just, let's just get on with this.
Fucking curmudgeonly old
When he's not
bastard.
stoned out of his mind.
It's amazing. Like just walking down a hill in a kilt that you know he's not comfortable in.
Yeah.
Just going, let's just shoot this piece of shit.
One of my favorite clips is David Blaine is doing like close-up magic in his house and like does the trick, and you can tell like everyone around's like, wow, and then Harrison Ford just like looking like stoic and just goes, get the fuck out of my house. So good.
Harrison, if you're listening, we love you, buddy.
Yeah.
You can crash a plane in the golf course near my house anytime.
That was the quote. You do you, but my way. That was the ad slogan for the and Mr. Burns calls Marge's approach mollycoddling, which is some great old school terms there. And and one of the things that Caitlin does is, woo, I just booked you with a fight with Floyd Mayweather. Jesus. Yep, that's where we're at these days.
Yep.
All right, it's time to rank this thing. Who wants to kick it off?
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a bronze.
All right.
Not a fail. Not much better than that. Wouldn't watch again, mainly because I didn't feel there was a point. But there was some jokes in there, and it wasn't a terrible 22 minutes or whatever it is. Yeah.
Phil.
For the exact same reasons, I'm going to go exact same bronze as well. Yeah, it was not noticeably bad. It certainly wasn't meh, but it wasn't good enough to be anything better than a bronze. Yeah.
BT?
Yeah, I'm going to bronze as well. I kind of sat there thinking, it feels like bronze for jokes and a participant for story. But ultimately, it's a comedy show. I'm here for jokes. So if I have a good time, that's kind of the point. So yeah, bronze.
Yep, gonna make this unanimous. It's a bronze for me as well. I can't really add much more to that. It was,
Good enough.
Yeah.
Good, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if, like, I paired, if the first episode we watched was much worse.
Well. It did sour the taste a bit more.
Yeah, but, I mean, it was fine. Like, yeah, it definitely wasn't as good of a time as the first one, but, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where you don't have a great time while you're watching it, but you don't have a great time because it's so bad. It's just, it is a time, and here we are.
Yep. All right. Unanimous bronze. And there's a few bronzes from season 33. It'll be joining A Serious Flanders Part 2, but not Part 1.
Part 1 sucks balls.
Well, yeah, Part 1 got a dull bronze, but we lifted up a little for Part 2 overall.
Right.
Portrait of a Lackey on Fire, where Smithers gets a new boyfriend and they do a Chernobyl parody at some point.
Yeah.
My Octopus and a Teacher, that was a bronze by split decision. That's where we meet Bart's new 4th grade teacher.
Right.
Whose name is Miss Peyton, and they had Peyton Manning reference in this episode.
It all fits together.
There's red string to be
It's like some kind of Asperger's detective show.
It's kind of like a bunch of people all collaborate on the same show.
Yeah.
Weird.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Have you boys got anything to plug, things on the internet you want people to be aware of?
We always have Small Minds. If you've got children or if you like science and fart jokes, why don't you check into smallminds.au. We take the biggest minds in science and pose them questions from children. So we talk to professors head of their field. We talk to a professor of mushrooms, a professor of farts, professor of tastes, professors of sleep, professors of spacesuits, black holes, robots, nanorobots, anything and everything you can think about. And we ask them questions that come from small kids from across the world and with hilarious results. We learn something, you learn something, we laugh, you might laugh. It's a good time for all.
Yeah, absolutely. And BT, what are we up to?
Well, you can also check out Starring Springfield. This is our podcast where we review movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. I cannot think if we have a football one.
I know my challenge for the next one.
But if you're like Phil and
Yeah, you picked us a basketball one recently.
Yeah, that's what was it Space Jam?
Yeah.
Space
Great
Jam.
movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Have you seen it recently?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you guys give it a bad review?
No, it didn't. Not bad. Just like, okay.
Yeah.
But if you're like Phil and you're sitting
Also,
here...
we had just watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is just far and away a so much better version of what they're going for.
Fair enough.
But if you're like Phil and sitting there stewing on ideas of what you can make us watch, you can go to patreon.com/SideQuestStudios, where for as little as whatever money it is, you can sign up and get 200 exclusive podcasts and make recommendations for Starring Springfield.
Yeah, that's your power as a patron. You get to have voting rights on what we review on Starring Springfield.
You say voting rights, you get to just tell us.
You get to, you get to flat out nominate it. That's why you can
Nomination rights. There
you
we go.
can control IMDb for the worst movies that you can think of, and then see if it links backwards. I do it the other way around. I find a terrible movie and see if there's any connection to The Simpsons.
Well, like, I was just about to bring up because, we're talking about Harry Shearer, how he's sounding a bit aged these days, and, coming up very soon on the free feed is our review of Abbott and Costello Go to Mars, which is the oldest movie that we can possibly do on that show. I think it's from like 1953, which stars a child, Harry Shearer, in it.
And big quotations on stars. But
Big quotations on child. He still looks like he's 72.
Weirdly does. But yeah, that's it. Starring Springfield, patreon.com/SideQuest Studios. Links are in the show notes. But for now, that's been the Simpsons Index for this week. Almost forgot the name of my own damn podcast. Thank you, Phil.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, guys.
Also, thank you, Jeb. And thank you, BT.
I've been hornswoggled.
By the way, sorry, Jeb is a dog that's in the room with us right now.
Very quiet dog, so...
Wasn't a fifth guest.
Sudden plot twist, there's been a dog the whole time.
Take that, listener. You didn't see it coming. There's cameras here, there.
Neither did the dog.
Bye.
The dog's also blind. Anyway, that's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. We're also on social media. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and on Threads. Links for all that and more are down in the show notes. Lastly, please consider giving us a 5-star review on the podcasting app of your choice. If you had a podcast, we'd give you a 5-star review. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes! Well, did you know OGT are closing down as well?
Yeah, I heard. I was hoping to get on one of their finals, but yeah, they kind of planned out their final 10 before I reached out. Yeah.
Can we get them on one of ours?
Only good things? What's OGT?
One good thing. They're a podcast.
Very close, though. Well done.
A movie podcast that tries to watches bad movies and tries to find at least one good thing to say, and they're just pod friends of ours, and good fun.
No, we've been on a few of ours. They've been on a few of ours.
It's been a nice trade-off.
Yeah, we reviewed the Dungeons and Dragons movie with them, and
a couple of Jason
That was a good movie. That wasn't a bad movie.
not
that
Among
one.
Thieves.
The Tom Hanks one.
No, that's
Tom
Mazes and Monsters from early in
right.
his career. No, the 1999.
Did that have curry in it? Does it Tim Curry?
No, it's Jeremy
No.
Irons, and he's just eating the biggest
Oh my
ham
God.
sandwich.
He is chewing scenery. It's amazing.
And it's got Marlon Wayans in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a bard or something?
No, he's a rogue.
That's the problem. Everyone's a rogue.
They've got two rogues, and yeah, rarely do they make advantage of solving their problems with a team dynamic.
Yeah.
It's
like everything that worked about the other D&D Honor Amongst Thieves, but none of that is present.
there's like literally a point in the movie where they hit an invisible wall, and you're like, I feel like you ran out of budget at exactly that moment.
It clearly got budget problems, but worth it for Jeremy Irons. My God.
Yeah.
Literally, there's just a bit where he just goes,
Yeah, yelling at the CGI terrible looking dragon swirling around him. Oh my God. There's even like a deleted scene or whatever, or just like when they called and cut, and he just like goes walks off set looking dejected. Like
there are so many weird things about that movie. Like
yeah.
Like, despite there being a lot of races in D&D, they don't have any of them in the movie, but there are weird-looking, like, guys, but they're not canon. It's it's like a three-eyed blue guy, and you're like, that clearly took a lot of prosthetics and work, and you couldn't just make them a drow, and that's recognizable.
Do you think
in
they
the
just stole
franchise?
props from, like, Star Trek?
Maybe. It's very baffling, but, I mean, it's not all terrible, and we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it was fun to review.
Yes.